everybody. Welcome to Sonic Talk, episode 521. That's right, 521. I was trying to find out if that was some sort of a potential number, but I couldn't think of anything apart from a fishing reel I used to use when I was a kid, which doesn't really apply to the music and technology podcast, which is what you're listening to, not the fishing podcast at all. Although one day I might get one of those together, but I'll have to get a lot better at it and have an audience who actually cares a jot about that information. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. This is the Sonic Talk Music Technology Podcast. This show goes out live every Wednesday, 4 p.m. Although next week and the week after we won't be having a show, because Wednesday next week will be at NAMM, which is the massive music technology show in Los Angeles at Anaheim Convention Center. And then the week after I'll be mostly on a plane. Or no, I'll be back, but driving down the M4 to get home. To do all of the things that I've been missing as an absent father during that week. But that's beside the side. Anyway, welcome everybody. Want to say hello to everybody in the chat room. Nice to see you there. Anglingtalk.com pop, very funny. As you can see, the chatties like to and very often contribute some great stuff to the show. So do come along. Sonicstate.com/live. And also, this is the live chat stream from YouTube as well. So we got both. We run them both at the same time. I'm trying to keep on top of it, but if I miss your comment, I'm terribly sorry. I also want to say thank you very much to iZotope for sponsoring the show. There'll be a competition a little bit later on where you can win a copy of Ozone 8, which is their mastering suite of software. Very nice piece of kit. And also you'll be hearing from Bitwig, who will be telling you about Bitwig Studio 2.2, I believe. In fact, I think at NAMM we might be seeing yet more updates. I know I've got an appointment with them. So anyway, we'll carry on. And we'll start with Mr. Yoad Nevo, who is there, as I was saying before the show, yoadnevo.com, producer, mix engineer, studio owner, Waves plugin developer. He's gone for the classic Studio Beauty shot this week, which is a new one in the repertoire. How are you, Yoad? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm very well. I'm trying to, to give a different angle for every program, so just to keep it interesting. So
it's always interesting. So that I don't know how many channels you got there. Are they bays of 16 behind you, or are they
12.
bays at 12? So 12, 24. Yeah. Are
60,
there two behind you, or is that the master section behind you?
That's the master section. I don't know if you can see all of them. There's 60 altogether.
Wow, 60 and a scope.
And a scope, yeah. And
what are that? What's your as we used to call them, the Ronnies, which are the Ronnie Bigs, the big monitors in. I can only see
ATC SCM 100s.
Ah, yes, I remember you said. Are the what are your near fields as well? I can't see those quite.
ProAx.
Okay, I've not heard of those. Interesting.
ProAx, Canadian. I don't know if they're amazing. Passive monitors. I have a quad. What is it? 404.
Really old school.
Yeah. Sound amazing. Sound really good.
Mm. Oh, interesting. Yeah, because quads used to be. The quads used to be obviously in active speaker world, which is sort of what everybody goes for, pretty from convenience more than anything else. The quads have a sort of, they're quite, what's the word? Not smudgy, sort of forgiving. They're not like super fast transients, or am I mistaking the qualities of it?
They sound, I don't know. The ATCs, what I like about the ATCs is that you can really monitor them very quietly, but they're still very transient, but in a pleasant way, and they're very transparent and lots of headroom. The ProAx with the quad, they sound, I don't know, in a way like a very good version of NS10s in a way. They don't go down much lower than the NS10s, but they're a little bit more toppy. But I don't know, there's some, you get that oomph, you get that.
I always remember having to check. I used to check the bass drum on NS10s by turning it up really loud and looking at the side, and if it creased in a certain way, I knew I was hitting the right frequency on it, because there's just nothing down there. So, but exactly. On the other hand, if you can get them sounding good on NS10s, you're pretty much you're golden, right? So good stuff.
Yeah.
And also Mr. Charles Chicky Reeves, who is back. We saw him last week, but he's been away on tour for quite some time. Now back in the country at his studio, where he's... oh, look, your analog desk is starting to have things piled on it. Does that mean that it's now kind of... Yeah, does that mean that it's now not actually being used quite so much? Now you've got your Digico in the mix.
Well, it's actually got stuff on it because I was doing my taxes.
That time of year. Oh God, yeah, that reminds me.
Yeah, I do taxes and VAT at the same time on January, and yeah, but I am using the Digico quite a lot, mainly because I'm just really preparing for another tour. But it does sound nice just mixing tracks on it. It just sounds beautiful. I've never been a huge fan of digital consoles because I've sort of thought, what's the point? Because you can do it in the box, and that's essentially a digital console. But it has a certain sound to it when you go analog into it and analog out of it, and it's just the compressors are great in it, the EQs are great in it. So I love playing around on it. I like having a hands-on feel when I mix. Anyway, that's why I've always had the analog, at least an analog console, whether it's this or I used to have a 8068 or 998, and gosh, I've had a few consoles. But
wow.
Anyway, yeah.
I'd just like to draw your attention to the pun. Cheapo Card Company there says, using the hot valves in the desk to cook the books. Very good. Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. I like that. Nice bit of topical on the fly punnery. Good work there. Right. Well, let's start with. I'll start with this actually, because we can't really avoid the fact that Arturia have released 3 fairly major units in the past 3 days. MiniBrute2 series. We've got the MiniBrute2, the MiniBrute2S, the Rack Brute, and this thing on the side, the sort of called Arturia Link, which everybody got really excited about until they realised it was just a racking system, but it's actually pretty cool. So this is the MiniBrute2, and these are a bunch of cool dudes making cool music with it. I'm just trying to see if they've actually got the... Yeah, there we go. And the two... Yeah, all the usual stuff. Let's see if I can find the bit where it gets to the rack, because that was... Ooh, look at that. There we go. Here's the rack stuff. This is interesting. Some major manufacturer actually entering the rack space. This 6U, 88 HP, and a 3U one. So, you get the gist of it. So, 3 new things from Arturia. Well, 4 if you count the 2 flavours of rack stuff. Kind of bold and interesting. They've gone before NAMM, so I guess that means when you go to NAMM, you'll be able to see it, which I think makes a certain amount of sense, even though I obviously goes against, because then we can't get the scoop because everybody sees it at the same time. I know. I can't remember, Charles. Are you yeah, well, you've got a Matrix Brute, so therefore,
yes.
Does this mean now you're going to have to get...
And I have a over there a MiniBrute as well, and I have all their software, and I think I've got 2 of their key labs, and I know I've got something else from Arturia. I mean, I love their stuff. I think it's great. I love the Matrix Brute. I really liked a lot. My only complaint about it, which is something they have since fixed, was the build quality, and it was because of the key bed. And then they did change out the key bed, and they changed it out for free on me.
Right.
But this Matrix Brute, I think that thing's amazing. I love that thing. It's fantastic.
Oh, it's the muscle car of synths, isn't it? It's got a kind of...
Oh my God. It's just like I've done 2 remixes over the past couple of weeks, and pretty much everything except drums, well, even some drum stuff, almost everything has come out of that thing. Like it comes between that and in my Korg mini log. And my OP1, I use the OP1 on everything. I'm kind of set, the idea of the new Matrix Brute, the 2S and so forth. I mean, it looks appealing. I don't think I'd get it just because I've got lots of stuff like that.
You're already bruted up.
I am very bruted up. Yeah.
Oh, I keep thinking of headlines. Et2 Brute. I should have had that in there somewhere.
Very good.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn it. I missed that.
Very good Shakespearean. But yeah, I think it's exciting. I won't get it because I've got all that stuff I'd be just getting more stuff that does what I already do. But I do love their stuff. I think it's fantastic, and they have a really unique sound, and it's messy, it's dirty, and it's aggressive, and I love it. It's not like in a 303 kind of way, but in a kind of a just really, yeah. You said muscle car. It's like a 70s muscle car, but really efficient.
Yeah, well, of course, the thing is with the Matrix Brute, you've got the ladder filter as well as the Steiner Parker. The Steiner Parker is great, but it's a very specific sound. I mean, you can find lovely harmonics in there, but any of the sweep stuff, it's very angry sounding, isn't it? It's got a sort of a very specific sound, so you have to work quite hard to get it to sound sweeter, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yoad, you got any Arturia stuff? You must have a Matrix Brute in a studio like that, surely.
No,
even if you've just...
I think well, what I do have is a very interesting beast here, which is a MiniBrute, where the keyboard was taken out, and instead there's a MicroBrute that lives there.
Ah, okay. So it's like a
and
Prophet 10.
In a way, yeah, exactly. So and they're obviously connected to each other. So basically, the MicroBrute serves as an additional oscillator. So I use it without any VCA. So it's like, you know, just a drone without filtering. They both receive CV and MIDI to whatever, and that whole MicroBrute is fed up to the external input on the MiniBrute.
Ah, okay.
So essentially, I have a MiniBrute with two oscillators.
Right. I see. I see.
In a way, I think that's kind of what the MiniBrute2 is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is kind of. I mean, I've got one here actually, but I can't set the camera up. But certainly, as I said, the thing that I really noticed about it is the sub oscillator or the second oscillator has got.
Oh, that sounds nice.
It's got a really good, solid and consistent low end, which you may well want to trim, but at least you don't have to put it in because, as
Absolutely.
I said before,
no, it sounds quite. It sounds quite compressed, and it's definitely not. Doesn't sound like a sine wave. Maybe it's the streaming.
It might have it's got quite a hard front end, and I haven't got any brute factor on this one actually. But,
no, but it sounds like it has some odd harmonics on it.
Yeah, it may well be.
Harmonics on it.
Yeah, well, maybe that I can't tell whether I'm distorting it or not. It's I haven't got that because I'm working on a headless mixer. It may well be that I'm driving it a bit hard into it. But it's an interesting concept. I mean, they sent the I got a box. Honestly, it was like this big by this, and I was thinking, what on earth is this? Because they said, "Oh, can we send you something before NAMM? Will you get a chance to look at it before NAMM?" I said, "Look, I'll try. If you want to send it to me, I will try." But and I'm still not sure whether I'm actually going to get a chance to shoot that video. But so I've got the MiniBrute2. I've got the MiniBrute2S, which is really cute. Actually, it's like the cross between a MiniBrute2 and a drum brute, and then I've got the 3U and the 6U modular stuff with this kind of Arturia link, which is the way of mounting it all up. I think actually we've got I've got a picture of that somewhere. Where is it? I think it's here. Let's see. There's a picture of how it all hooks together. Let's see if they've actually. Oh, you can. Oh no, that's not the that's not the button at all. So you get this like this. So it's like this sort of racking system where you can spin it round and it will fold. Let's see if we can find the actual page. Check out the six. Yeah, I think there's actually. So you've got it there, and then hold on. If we roll down, there is So you can see it looks like quite a nice system. There we go. So you can fold it forward. You can rack. You can put your MiniBrute in the front wings, or you can put another Brute case. Yeah, here we go. This is where it all sort of works, and
nice.
you can fold it over. It's a really nice idea. I mean, I think I'm told that it's a reasonable value. I think the 8U, which is the single bay, is about 240, and the top one is the twin is 330, but it's got a fairly hefty power supply as well. So that's those are the things that tend to be the issue. Sorry.
What about Euro modules?
They haven't released any Eurorack modules, but one can assume that might be something that they would explore. I mean, I have no inside information on this, but I mean, if they've built the case, maybe so, or maybe just the fact that they've just put the patch bay on the Brute.
I remember there was in the early 90s there was an ad on Mix Magazine or something like that about there was the Sony versus Mitsubishi, digital multi-track war, and Sony, what was that? Yeah, Sony put out an ad showing a Mitsubishi truck carrying a Sony Dash multi-track, saying something like, you know, each one should do what they're best at, or something like that. You know,
oh, that's bitchy. Great idea for an ad. If you want that,
exactly.
if you want to get into that sort of thing,
yeah. But Mitsubishi Dash machine was amazing. It was really good with a little patch bay.
That was the 32 track, right?
Yeah. Which you can bounce stuff digitally from. It had a little patch bay that you could. It was really good. But anyway, so I can't see Arturia just putting out racks for other makes to create the modules for. So they must be working on something.
That would be kind of interesting. I don't know, Charles.
Absolutely.
Could that be the tipping factor? Yeah, it could be.
That would be it. That would be it. Yeah, I'd love something like that. God, that'd be nice. And I've totally avoided that part of the revolution. So yeah, I like synths. You know, synths.
I know what you're saying.
You know, when we went to that was that thing down in Hastings,
Synthsy,
and Synthsy, and that it was it like a Waldorf sort of frame?
The KB32, I think it is. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, like even that. I mean, I know it's a bunch of modules, but I love, like, to this day, I still think about that and think, wow, I really did love that. I wish I'd bought it that day, you know, or made an offer or something, because I just loved the sound. I love the feel of it. I love that kind of stuff.
That was all that was all the AGH modular stuff, which are the kind of Moog building blocks, which apparently is very good, which is probably goes to some reason why you dug it so much.
Yeah, it sounded beautiful. It just sounded absolutely beautiful, and I'd love something like that. And but I'm sure that Arturia could build something like that with this new form factor that they have, and the incorporation of being able to stick like a MiniBrute in there, or hopefully the old MiniBrute, because I got one lying around here. But probably not. Maybe a MiniBrute2 only. But yeah, it'd be great. I'd love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Johan, I've just had an idea, and the idea of your microbrute in a MiniBrute. So you got a microbrute in a MiniBrute, maybe in a MiniBrute2 in a matrix brute, and it sort of starts to sound a bit like those ancient English feasts where you had like a kind of a quail inside a duck, inside a chicken, inside a goose, inside a, you know, that sort of thing going on.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, I like this this combination of a 2 oscillator MiniBrute. I also have the BeatStep Pro, which I really love. That's a really cool. I mean, it's not making any sounds, but it's a really good. And in general, I like the sound. It's kind of nasty and yeah, it's quite fat for something, you know, modern. You know, it sounds almost like a classic synth. Even though,
I know what you're saying.
It sounds like it has that classic sound of like something that you would expect to have been released in the 80s or something. But it's, yeah.
I know what you're saying. I mean, obviously this is the 2S as well. The only thing I will say, this is very much on initial kind of reaction, is one is the filter knob, cutoff knob, is really close to, I don't know if you can see that, is really close to the oh, go away. It's gone. Damn. Where's that coming? The menu's come in. Right, get off. You can see that there is really close to the oscillator tune knob. So when you reach for that, it's very easy to knock this. And this has got a very wide range. So that's one thing that I did. And also, it's a shame it hasn't got some sort of analog or digital delay on it, because I think a monosynth really does come to life with something like that. But the sequencer on the 2S looks really good, and they're both the same price, so you can sort of choose which way you want to go, because the sequencer on the just the regular MiniBrute2 is like a monophonic keystep Pro. Is it keystep Pro? I can't remember what it is.
What's the retail on these?
$599 UK, so I guess $5 something. Somebody says 575 for the Mini 2. I'm not sure. I think I got a they changed that. They started at 575 and then the distributor said no, it's 599. So I don't know, because all the numbers of the currencies are all over the place at the moment, so they're probably just hedging their bets a little bit. But yeah, available in March. And as we say, could be some exciting times for more coming along in the Eurorack kind of form factor. So yeah, I think you could be right, with something going on there. Let's see. So what time is it? Oh, let's just have a little word from our friends at Bitwig while I gather my thoughts. Bitwig Studio 2.2 is here. Bitwig Studio combines both timeline and clip-based sequencing on Windows, macOS and Linux. It features VST3 support, plug-in crashing protection and a highly flexible user interface with a lightning-fast workflow for keyboard, mouse and also touchscreens. It's great on the new Microsoft Surface devices. Modularity is also central to Bitwig Studio. It focuses on strengthening the way devices interact with one another and offers a highly flexible modulation routing system, so you can route almost anything to anywhere, including audio rate modulations. Bitwig also offers many sync options: MIDI clock master slave, MTC, CV and gate, hardware audio clock and Ableton Link. So why not try Bitwig Studio today? Go to bit.ly/Bitwig now and try it out for yourself. Once again, we thank Bitwig for supporting the show, and also we're going to be going to see them at NAMM, and I've heard that there's a software iteration, so hopefully we'll be amongst the first to show you what those features are as they'll be on the show. We'll get to see the gang, and last year they had it on they were one of those Microsoft Surface Studios, which are the sort of they're a bit like they're desktop but with a flippable screen. It was just so lovely on that, I have to say. It was like we've got a real computer envy in it, just because they're amongst the first people to embrace the whole touchscreen aspect to working on DAWs, which is one of those things. It's sort of hybrid, isn't it? I don't know how people feel about that. How do you feel about touchscreen stuff for DAW work? Just as a
first I want to say that when I grow up, I want to start using Bitwig.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I'm really, I've used Ableton Live and I like it. There are certain things I don't, in the arrange page, which I'm not, the session.
It's not really.
Exactly. The session view is amazing. You can create like really cool beats and stuff, but then you have to transfer it to Logic or Cubase or Pro Tools or something like that. I haven't really explored the Bitwig 2, and Bitwig, the original one, was very similar to Live, but they had this clip launcher, which is great. So, and all the modulation features and all that, it seems like really need to find the time to get into it.
And what about touchscreen stuff? Would you kind of consider using a touchscreen for actually working on sessions, or do you find that would that be a bit too alien?
I don't know. I see a lot of people doing some amazing stuff on iPads, and I really liked working on the Moog and what was it? Animoog?
The 15?
No, the Moog
Model 15
for iPad.
Model 15.
Was that it? The one with the orbit?
Well, there's a 15.
Oh no, that's the Animoog.
Animoog, yeah. So I got along really well with that. So I consider that to be. I almost wanted to have an iPad, and I actually have room in the desk here. I don't know if you can see it for an iPad as a mouse pad. But is it embedded in the desk on your setup?
No, it's just
I'm talking about. I actually have room to embed, because I use trackball, so I can use the iPad as the mouse pad for the trackball. And then and to run Animoog, and then if I wanted to use the Animoog, I just move the trackball aside, and then I can. But again, just don't have the time to do all those things.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But so I enjoyed using that, and there's the SoundGrid Studio and LV1, the Wave stuff, which runs on touch screens, and it works pretty well. I don't know. I think I'm still gonna be quicker. What I would really like to see, and this is something that I've been wanting for ages, is to have two mice, to have two discrete cursors, so I can work with both hands, and have and either with other people. So a lot of times when you work with someone, you know, it would be great if they could join what you're doing, like you can do on a mixing desk or a piano, something like that. So just having two cursors which can live side by side, and with multi-touch screens, you basically have the technology to do that. But I think I'll be quicker to do it with both hands and some modifiers on the keys on the thumb and things like that. So
that's an interesting idea. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. But that, I mean, I would imagine it would be easily possible, because if a lot of OSs, well, apart from OS X, but certainly Windows and has got that built in, so it might well work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I guess, Charles, I mean, you know, your day-to-day job, I mean, studio work, probably not so much touchscreen, but I imagine live, a lot of the big consoles, a lot of their stuff is touchscreen, right? Yeah. So
those are both touchscreens.
Yeah.
It's all touchscreen. It's a multi-point touchscreen too. It's multi-point and gesture based. I've seen people mix on those Raven systems.
Yeah, I was thinking more about sort of moving arrangement stuff around, the actual arranging part of it, which is, you know, I don't know whether you could be precise enough.
I think I'd like that. Yeah. I mean, I found myself, because I own this laptop I'm talking on now, I use it for running effects live. So I don't really use it that often. And I opened it up and I was doing something using doing my taxes actually. And I went and reached for for something on the screen to try to drag it. I was like, oh yeah, it's not touchscreen. Because I have an iPad Pro, and you know, that's about the same size. So I just naturally thought this thing pushed touchscreen for a moment.
Yeah, it's a sort of mixed metaphor of the GUI language, I suppose, isn't it? Interesting.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings us to, sorry, carry on.
No,
sorry,
go ahead. No, I'm done.
It kind of brings us on to the next topic, which was the first of the list. But as we're talking gesture, let's have a look at this. This is, of course, I think this is Inception, isn't it? This is the Hans Zimmer piece, which we've heard, and it is such a great piece of music. It's really simple, but this is called Enhancia MIDI ring, and it's a wired version. This is a prototype, but what that is effectively doing is sending MIDI data based on, it's got three gestures: vibrato, and I think there's a flick which is pitch bend, but there's also an up and down which you can map to another one. And it does look a bit clumsy with the wire on it, but they're, like I say, this is a very early prototype. I don't know, it looks interesting, and they also had another video which was on Facebook, which I can't show without showing all of my personal Facebook stuff, which was Stevie Wonder trying it, and he was just playing, and he had it on his finger, and he was just kind of, and he totally got it, and he was like, yeah, that's really cool. Which, I mean, what a scoop, getting Stevie Wonder to play your prototype. Yeah, absolutely awesome. But in general terms, it's actually quite an interesting idea, because we've got all of these, you know, it's all about expression. Everybody's looking for the way to express themselves via a traditional keyboard. You know, we've got the Roly stuff, which is fine, but does require a certain amount of relearning, and there are many other flavors, but this just seems like something really, really simple. Just put the ring on and use it that way. I don't know what you think about that. I don't know. You play, Chicky, so I mean, does it something like that? You could see that being quite useful for expression, certainly maybe live as well, because you get the gesture, and it's like having a D-beam on your finger.
Yeah, exactly. I think that could be quite cool if they, you know, get rid of the wire thing. And there was another one that was on the same page.
Yeah, which didn't have the wire. That's right. Yeah, it was. Didn't have the wire.
That actually to me seemed more interesting, but
oh, this
seemed a bit more.
I thought the music was really horrible, so I played that one instead.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously the Hans Zimmer piece is great. I could see it being really cool, but I can't see myself ever getting into that. You know, it's just not the way I would work. I'm not that kind of player, but someone who's a better player than me, yeah, I can totally see why they would do that. Yeah. I could think of a few people that I work with who would just absolutely love something like that. So yeah, I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah, and we don't know. It's going to be kickstarted in March, I believe. We may well see them at NAMM. I'll have to check that out. I know you had your traditionally, you know, your first instrument is guitar, but I mean, expression on keys, you know, it's that perennial kind of topic we keep coming back to, and people keep trying to fix it, right?
Absolutely. What I don't understand with this prototype is because you see him, so he plays with his thumb, but then as he moves fingers, his whole palm, his whole hand is moving. So why isn't it affecting it so it seems like it only affects it. So there's something here I don't get. Basically.
It's got fixed axis of movement. It only works in 3 distinct movements. So it's not. It works like this. So quite wide movements if you move your hand up and down. It works in vibrato, and it also works in that. That's it.
Yeah, but the vibrato thing, which is obviously changing the pitch, if you do that or whatever, why not? Why isn't it activated? It gets activated when you do this, when you move to a different key. So this is what I don't quite get. Because
that's a good question. Maybe they're just maybe they've got it sussed and it's quite clever and works it out. I don't know why that is.
Because it seems like it works only. So whether it's an aftertouch, I mean, it would make sense if it was an aftertouch sort of related. So maybe it only gets activated maybe it's only active once you have aftertouch.
While there's a note
activity.
on, perhaps.
Yeah, or something like that. Otherwise, yeah. So, but in any case, it looks very cool.
It's the sort of intuition of it, isn't it? Because you see people playing keyboards all the time, and they're doing this sort of thing. You know, they tend to try and imbibe somehow expression into the sound, even though it's not actually doing anything. It's almost like a kind of mannerism that people use, that they're trying to kind of make it do that, but this actually seems like it will. It's not clear exactly how. Well, I guess there's a little translator thing that just inserts that MIDI data that you presumably can map however you want into the stream, and there you go. You're kind of like good to go. But another French company, and it seems like they're very fixated about this idea of expression, because obviously we've got the Touche Expressive E, which again is a really that is a great little unit as well. A lot of people who try that just say that is awesome, and I'm sure over the years of various trade shows, particularly Music Messer, I've seen all kinds of sort of bonkers and unusual expressive ideas and sort of strange Star Wars type controllers, you know, Star Wars pub band type controllers. But yeah, this Enhancia .co is it there? There it is. That's what it's going to look like ultimately. So it's a ring that you put on. I did think that actually having a wire on it wasn't a bad idea, because then you wouldn't lose it, but you know, it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? But yeah, a nice idea. And I think the expressiveness, like I say, we're always trying. People try and find it, and aftertouch kind of works, but it really depends on the quality of the keyboard, because the keyboard is often not able to interpret that micro, you know, because we're talking like 2 or 3 mils of movement, and makes it very hard to be precise with it. Maybe it's going to be a lot easier with something like this to do that.
I think they need to rework their logo a little bit too, because it looks.
It does look like Enhancia, doesn't it? Which could be something else. Yeah, it looks like. Yes. And the idea of ring and Enhancia sort of. Yeah, if you've seen the back of any specialist magazines, you might be thinking something else, perhaps. But it might just be my dirty mind. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it could be that. Could be.
Let's just say it's my dirty mind instead, shall we? That's the much easiest thing. But anyway, very cool. Let's see, what's the next thing we got? Oh yeah, man. Okay. Oh yeah, here's one.
2, 4, 6, 8.
This dropped yesterday. This is another lifestyle type video. We did shoot our own video. This is a band obviously on the road in the van after a gig, going back to the motel, kind of like, oh, you know, tired out, all that. But good for them. That's like the hotel we used to stay at NAMM. So now they're basically set up, and this is the Universal Audio Arrow, which is bus powered Thunderbolt.
Ready?
Solo chip version with 2 of the Unison preamps and all that good stuff, so you can run a fairly decent record path in it, and it's just much more portable. So there they are. They're off. They're making that. I must say, before we go any further, they could cheer up a bit. I mean, they're living the dream. You know, they're on the road, they're in the band, they're touring, they're writing music in the hotel room. I mean, how many of us have kind of thought, that's what I'm going to do when I'm on the road, and never got around it? They're doing it, and they're miserable. That's the only. I just want to point that out. I don't know, Charles. I don't know if you use UAD stuff or not, but I mean, it's another flavour. Right? Okay. Is there a use for
big UAD user?
Is this different? Is this different enough to the Apollo desktop, Apollo Twin, for you to kind of consider? Because it will add to your overall DSP count if you've got more stuff.
Yeah. Well, so will the Apollo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Apollo's just has more functionality for me. I don't have an Apollo. I don't have the Apollo, the small, the twin, with the twin. Yeah, the twin. Couldn't remember the name of it. I have the Apollo 16s and Apollo 8s, and which I love. I think they're amazing. They sound fantastic. Lots of processing power. This has one chip in it, the solo chip, and from my experience, that's not a lot of power. I mean, each one of my units has 4, and I can max that out pretty fast. Especially, it depends on the plugin. Obviously, there's certain plugins like the legacy plugins don't eat much power, but their newer stuff like
the stuff where they've modeled the power supply and the like the that stuff,
exactly.
The Fairchild, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the cool thing about this is that it's bus powered. So taking something like that on the road to actually work on music in the hotel room, which, I mean, honestly, all the bands I've worked with, and I'm in my own experience as a person who also makes a living as a songwriter, like when you're in a hotel room on a tour, like the last thing you want to do is work on music. All you want to do is like go on Netflix, lie in bed, and not talk to anybody. Just like, music is like the last thing on my mind. And also because, I'm like, if I'm trying to compose anything, I've got like Electricity or Enola Gay or one of those songs, or Slave to the Rhythm, or Let's Go Crazy, or whatever songs that my client has been playing every single night. That's stuck in my head, and I can't really think of anything new to create. But I mean, if I were on vacation or holidays, they say here in the UK, I would take something like that with me. I love the fact that it's bus powered. It's just one less thing to plug into the wall. It's just and it carries, especially because it's Thunderbolt 3, so it carries enough voltage for
decent 48 volt proper.
Yeah, that and a couple of decent mics. Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely do something like that. If it honestly, my one thing is though, I wish it had at least 2 to 4 processors in it. Then I would snap it up. Even if it was like another couple of £100, I'd still snap it up. It'd be great to have. Yeah. It's a little underpowered for me. Like one extra processor doesn't make a difference to me. 4 would though.
Yeah. Because I take your point, because if you're investing in more hardware, then at least you can add those to your overall system. But 1 is negligible. Yeah, that's a fair point. I know, Yoad, are you a UAD user? Lots of people do. I mean, I guess you probably.
In a way, I wish I was, but for me, the hardware puts me off. Basically, not that it's not good. The Apollo is great. I did a session in Hamburg a year or 2 ago, recording in band through an amazing Neumann desk, but the interface was Apollo, and it sounded really good and everything. But I don't like things that are. For me, it's the software protection. So they don't use audio units because it'll get cracked or VST, and so they have their own format that needs to run on the hardware. I don't need any more processing power, not even on my laptop, because I don't do final mixes on the laptop, and if I do some programming or some whatever, I find ways, I freeze stuff or I bounce stuff or whatever I need to do. And also I don't record. I always record things completely dry. unless I would do some EQing on the desk just because it sounds amazing, but I wouldn't do any compression or any stuff like that. So, and even guitars I record dry because it's easier to edit them, especially if you have distorted guitars. You lose the transients and then you can't quantize, you can't edit and all that. So I record everything dry. So for me, that's not, that's not a thing to consider, and I just don't like the fact that it runs out. I like something that is flexible, like on a native system, like on a laptop or something, that I can manage the resources rather than having a fixed amount of power that I can. It brings me back to the old days of TDM and stuff, and I just I'm not into that. Having said that, I use the Focusrite Scarlett. I have a couple of those in the laptop bag. I have a few laptops and a few of those, and they're very convenient. And the Aero seems like it's a similar size. So as an audio interface, it seems like a good thing to have, but for me, I don't know if I would use the plugins. Having said all that, I really like the sound of UAD. They make really good plugins, and I wish they had a native format so I could use them, fluently and freely like I use other plugins.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the thing about this is it's yet another flavor of it, and it's a cute little thing. I think I showed that. But and I think I didn't check actually because I can't see the rear of it, whether it's got a USB-C style connector or whether it's still the Thunderbolt, because that was always the problem with any of the Thunderbolt stuff. Yeah, I can't see that there's a picture of that on the back, because if it's got the USB-C type connector, then that makes it a lot easier. Because I
think it's Thunderbolt.
Let's have a look. So it's actually okay. Let me see. No, it's a USB-C. There we go.
Oh, it is.
Awesome.
Wow.
That is a big deal, because for a start, that means you don't have to spend 60 quid on an adapter. So yeah, good call. And so the lead is a lot more affordable. So yeah, that's
one thing I'd like to add. One thing is that one of the things I do love about UA, and it's with this product and with their Apollo twins or Solos twins, whatever they are.
Yeah, Apollo twins.
Their 8s, their 16s, everything is like with Apollo, all of their stuff, like from their cheaper products all the way up to their most expensive products, in this particular line, it's like there's a consistency of quality. Like this thing here, you got 2 mic preamps. They are pro. They are really pro. Everything's really pro. It's just you lose features when you pay less money, and if you pay more money, you get more features. And like I do like companies that do stuff like that, as opposed to some companies, when you pay less, they just give you cheaper quality components and, try to add lots of features, but it's just kind of slightly crappier. But not these guys. It's just, for their entry level stuff, you're still getting high quality components on everything. It's just cheaper and fewer features. And when you buy their 16s, you've got
you just got more of them. Yeah, no, I think that makes sense.
A lot of stuff.
Makes sense.
I love companies operating like that.
Yeah, I think that's fair play, and we do appreciate the Universal Audio people. They're always also not a nice bunch of people, as many are. But yeah, excellent. Okay, let's now. It's probably time to run the iZotope section. Here we go. This is Ozone 8, which is the mix processing and mastering software from iZotope. Mastering Assistant gets you started. You can kind of give it an idea of where you're trying to go, and it will give you a starting point, which is actually very useful for many people. Gets you in the ballpark, and then you can tweak from there. You also get the ability to, with the excuse me, the tonal balance control, which I think is coming. The Assistant actually works and reads the audio and figures out, what it thinks it might need. You can master it with tonal balance, which give you kind of rough areas of energy within the frequency bands to be able to aim for, and that's also very useful. Another visual clue. You can also operate, if you've got Neutron 2 installed and other versions of Ozone 8 across various plugins in it, it will communicate with other plugins within the same document, allowing you to kind of work on the mastering from within a single interface. Got the ability also to A/B or A/B/C/D, lots and lots of different mixes and lots of different tracks, so you can just level match and then kind of go, is this sounding similar? All very powerful stuff to work for in the mixing side of things. If you want to try out iZotope Ozone 8, just go to izotope.com/ozone8 and you'll be able to check out, as with all of their stuff, it's got a 10-day free demo, in-app referencing, as I mentioned earlier. Lots of ways of using it. Anyway, we thank iZotope for their continued sponsorship of the show. And also, we've got a competition. Last week, we asked you to tweet Future Mastering and Ozone 8, and we've got a winner. This week, last week's winner is a person called Terrible Prod, which I am sure they're not Terrible Prod, but it's he or she says it would be Future Mastering with Ozone 8 would be so much easier. Don't sleep on Sonicstate. It's the best podcast in the... I'm going to choose Universe there rather than World because it's cut off because it was only 160 characters. I'll go for Universe. Though World would be fine. Country, frankly, or City. But yes, Terrible Prod, at Terrible Prod. If you want to get in touch, then please do. And we've got another competition for this week. What we're asking for is the tweet, the hashtag Make It Sound Good as one word, and the hashtag Ozone8 to @Sonicstate and @iZotope Inc. If you enter that on Twitter, you will be entered for the competition where you can win a full copy of Ozone 8. So the hashtag is Make It Sound Good and the hashtag Ozone8 together with @Sonicstate and @iZotope Inc. And once again, we thank them for a sponsorship of the show. Right, let's see what our next topic is. We've got new brutes. We got this. Ah, yeah, of course. Yet another massive release. This is a video from Sonic Scenarios, a guy called Mike Corrali, who works control synthesizers in Brooklyn. And this is, of course, the Moog DFAM, which is Drummer from Another Mother, which is, again... it came out of the DIY workshop, which was a sort of VIP access thing for Moogfest, where people got to make one of these, and they've turned it into a product like they did with the Workstat. So this is essentially a percussion synthesizer, and there's some great... They do a really good job of the demo here, so lovely photography as well, I have to say. 8-step sequencer, 2 oscillators, cross-modulation, all kinds of good stuff in there, and it seems to create a surprising amount of tonal stuff. And I couldn't tell, but even though it's 8 steps, it does seem like there's higher granularity, because it seems like there's... Maybe use the envelope. I'm not entirely sure how it works to get sort of the bits in between. So that's out now, and that was announced this week also. So people are getting their stuff in at NAMM. In fact, Moog themselves are not at NAMM in person. They don't have a booth there. They've got a sort of freaky synth house, which we were hoping to get to, but they shut it on Wednesday night. And the only way I was going to be able to get to it was to basically get off the plane and take a cab to it, film something or other, which I guess would be the DFAM, and then get a cab to the hotel before the show. I just thought, you know, much as I love them, I'm not sure I'm ready to for that. That would just be a little bit too excessive for me. I don't know. Charles, did you try the Mother 32? This thing looks kind of cute, doesn't it?
I own a Mother 32.
I thought so. Right.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I bought that and my organelle at the same time. I love the Mother 32. This looks really cool. I think what you were talking about as far as it's 8 steps, but I bet there's got to be some way to access sub steps, because everything they were playing there had at least sub steps in there. It sounded like to me.
I thought so too.
Unless they got like LFO just like so bang in time every time. It starts the video. It's funny. The video starts off with kind of not particularly great sounds, but over time it evolves into some really cool sounds. Would I ever use it as a drum thing? No, I just use it for just generating cool synth rhythms. I mean, it was fantastic sounding. I love the video. Really good video. I would actually get that. And there's that mounting thing for the Mother 32, which I don't have, you know, where you can mount 2 or 3 of them. And if this will fit in that, then I will buy the mounting thing and then the DFAM. Yeah,
that would be make a really nice combo. I think you're right there. It'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Yeah, well, when I did the review, I think I had a 3 height one, which was just epic. So I had 2 up there and 1 down there. It did look great. It sort of it looked a little bit like a mini Tonto. That's although without any of that stuff. Yeah, but it's very nice indeed. Yoad, have you got the Mother 32? Is this something that'd be interesting for creating things?
I have the Mini Moog, the Model D, and I'm seriously considering the Behringer.
The D. Yeah, that's shipping now, I believe. Yeah,
because it's rack mountable. It's actually Euro rack mountable, and to me, maybe I'm completely wrong, but to me it looks like the video, it was all multi-tracked, because I can't see how it's possible without it being multi-tracked. So maybe I'm completely wrong. It sounded really good noises and nice. Yeah, everything looks cool about it. I would definitely like to know whether what we saw and heard on the video is something that you can generate with one instance of, basically with one, with one machine, or whether it was just overdubbed.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the notes. I'm fairly sure it wasn't, because I have to say that Moog themselves, I mean, one thing that they have done also, they focused on women performers in the actual promo video themselves, which is always good to see. You know, they're really up for redressing the balance. We talked about this last week, so we won't go into that too much. But I noticed there was some quite complex stuff in there as well. So I'm guessing it might be capable of more than we think, because you've obviously got a noise source and you've got two oscillators, and I think it's possible to flip-flop between them, so you end up with multiple voices. But I don't know, because I've not had my hands on one. But yeah, I take your point. It may be that there was some extra business going on. But usually when people do those sort of demos, they will say, yeah, this was done, we did add some stuff, but it doesn't mention that.
I also like the fact that it sounded a little bit like it distorts. Like there's a, and I think about halfway through it, yeah, it's like almost, there's a slight FM kind of sound to a lot of it too, which I thought was very cool. So it seems like, there's maybe an LFO that goes up into the audible range or something. I couldn't tell for sure, but it was.
It's funny though, isn't it? I mean, because I don't think. I mean, not a lot of people. I mean, I'm not saying people don't, but generally, I mean, most mono synths are capable of creating some really interesting and exciting percussion stuff, particularly if they've got those envelopes that have got sort of very micro kind of control. You need kind of logarithmic response, so that you can get variations in the attack and decay that are really tiny, and you can create incredibly authentic and interesting rhythm stuff from it as well. I mean, I know because the Mini as well, I mean, lots of people build drums on the Minis. I mean, because the envelopes are very snappy, and when people say snappy envelopes, it's just people don't often reach for a synth to create their own drum sounds. I don't know if you do.
I do, and I actually released a product that has a few banks of just percussion generated by SH101, Mini Moog, Model D, Core Gamma 10, and maybe there was another one. But there's loads of all the sounds you can, they can make really cool sounds, but it's kind of a limited amount of sounds that you can actually generate, especially ones that are useful. So you have some sweeps, some kind of cool kick drums, some noise, white noise snare drums, and things like that. So I really worked on it and created a bank of these, and so yeah, now I can use my own bank. It's also available commercially, but I
you can plug it. Go on, say what it is. Tell us where they could get it. Come on.
I think I mentioned it before. It's called Nevo Analog Machine by Samplephonics. It has loads of other synths and stuff, but it has a section of just and I find, I just use it rather than going to the thing and program it. I just use it because it's spent all over the keyboard, and just convenient. But yeah, those sounds that we heard are really cool.
There we go. Da da da. You get there we go. That's what it is. There. Quick buy, add to cart. 4.6 gigabytes of sounds. Well, actually, on the subject of drum, what I tend to do, and I like to do, is I create a 16th part, and then I just bring the envelope just down to almost nothing and make very micro adjustments to the decay, and you get these really beautiful moving. I mean, you can, if you trigger it via MIDI, you can create swing or whatever, and you can just create these sort of really long, evolving sort of percussion patterns that take the part of hi-hats or shakers or other rhythmic pulses stuff. I like to do that. I've just been doing that with the synth I've got here. That really, and it's very pleasing to me. And I remember I think I started doing that years ago, and I don't do it a lot, but I just find it makes me feel like I'm a proper synthesist when I do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. So the DFAM, I think, is available. Let's see. I think they're shipping now. Actually, I think they've already shown up in the retailers, or certainly listed. It's going to be what does it cost? I think it's $679 US. So probably somewhere in the region of 679 UK pounds. It seems to kind of be pretty much a parity type of thing there. So there's not so much. I guess we were going to talk about NAMM rumors. So I don't know if anybody has either NAMM rumors or things you perhaps like to see at NAMM, because I may have mentioned it a couple of times, but NAMM is next week. In fact, there's no show next week or the week after, because I'll be at NAMM next week and then traveling. But there will be a live stream 12:30 Pacific time on Sunday the 28th. We've booked the live streaming hub at NAMM. They've given us it. Gaz is going to be there. I think we're going to try and get Milo Melodies on as well. We're going to do sort of a show wrap. So about 12:30 Pacific time next Sunday, that's Sunday the 28th, we will be live streaming, via this channel, so you'll be able to see that, and you'll be able to hear just how ruined we are, because we party the night before, because Saturday night's party night, but B, it's like that. I think I've started to write the live blog stuff, and that you suffer from this thing called NAMM brain, whereby your short-term memory becomes completely destroyed and you have no buffer whatsoever, and all you can remember is how to breathe, how to function, how to locomote, and where your stuff is, and that's about it. So it should be quite interesting. There'll be a whole bunch of people who just can't remember anything. It'll be like a sort of Alzheimer kind of chat show or something along those lines, but I'm sure it'll be fun, so I'm looking forward to that. So I don't know, Charles, I mean, some of us are privy to things that we probably can't talk about. Some of us I've heard things that we can talk about, and some of us just go, I'd like to see. So insert anything you feel appropriate at this point.
Yeah, there's some stuff I know about that I can't talk about, but outside of that, I can't think of anything. I mean, gosh, I'm in the very blessed position of wanting for very little, because I kind of have everything I need. So, I mean, I've got great synths, I've got great mics, I've got great interfaces, I've got great computers. I know that this isn't the CES show, but I'd love for Apple to come out with another desktop computer, but we'll see if that ever happens again. But yeah, there's really nothing out there that I'm just wanting for at all. I'm happy with how things are.
Well, it's interesting you should say that. So that's essentially a challenge to the manufacturer. I think that's common. I mean, obviously there are people who are coming up through and say, if only I had, then I'd be great. That's the way the aspirational thing works. But there's so much choice, and you can have a lot of things that you need. So I mean, it has to be quite a compelling reason for you to kind of go, yeah, I really want that these days. It's not quite so straightforward, is it? Really?
Well, what it comes down to, for me, what it comes down to is I can double all the equipment I have, and add in all kinds of new things. But if I'm not writing songs, then what's it for? So it all comes down to being able to to create, be able to create. And I don't want any. I mean, I've got way too many plugins and stuff like that. I don't want anything that's going to get in the way of my creativity, because it's some new toy that I'm going to play with for a little while and then go, oh, well, that was exciting. I mean, what I have, I'm very happy with right now. So, but there may be something really cool
just around the corner. Who knows?
Yeah,
There
may be a game changer. But also
that old chestnut.
But right before NAMM, there's a lot of not vaporwave, but vaporware, which is where the name vaporwave comes from. There's a lot of vaporware, that you hear about, and of course, none of it ever materializes, and some Kickstarter thing, and then it never gets built. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what they announce, and I will watch with bated breath. Although I will be really busy during that time period.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Well, it'll all be online. Don't worry. We'll archive it all. I'll send you a USB key. I've got about 50 of them here, so I'll just post you one.
Excellent.
Perhaps. I know, I mean, like, obviously, it's always a tricky time of year, because as industry people, we often get sort of inside information that we're unable to pass on to the general public, or not, as the case may be. But I mean, do you find that something has to be also, quite compelling for you to go, yeah, I want that, I need that, that will make my life better?
It these days it's usually the little things. You know, I bought this Spider guitar capo, which I'm really happy with. You know, so this aftertouch ring looks very interesting. Things like that. There will be some very interesting Waves announcements, and so,
are they going to be there? Are you going to be there? I should go and see them.
I'm not going to be there, but Waves are going to be there.
Okay.
This year I'm not going, but two very interesting products, and I don't know. I'm happy to be surprised and waiting to be surprised actually to see what.
Yeah, I mean, what one thing that is interesting is there are quite a number of no shows. I think Gibson aren't there. I think Dave Smith's not there. Moog aren't there. Those are the ones that I can think of. I think there's a few people that aren't going, but there's still a lot of people that are. So it's not, we're not quite at the kind of Music Messe kind of tumbleweed scenario by any stretch. I want to see the Waldorf Quantum because that's going to be on display, because last time we saw it, it was very much kind of under a glass case. Couldn't really check it out. There's also the Radical Delta CPA, which is a kind of self-contained monosynth in Eurorack format, and their stuff sounds really good. And they did the I'm trying to remember what the name of the big sort of DSP synth that they did, Radical Technologies. I've forgotten the name of it, but. And they've done some really good Eurorack stuff, so it'd be nice to see a complete voice, because their stuff, Jörg Schaff is really, really good, and it's kind of not. It hasn't had the product that everybody's going, wow, I'm going to get that, and this might be one of them. I think Korg will have something. It's their 50th, right? It's their 50th anniversary. I remember the days. I think we went to their 40th, and they put on this fantastic banquet. Gone are those days where you get those kind of, you know, no expense spared food from around the world. That was a great night in Frankfurt. I can't remember much about it, but I suspect they'll be announcing something or announcing some plans. They've kind of, I think I was saying before the show, they said, you must come, you know, come and see us, come to the press conference. I don't usually do press conferences because I can't film there, and it's just that downtime for me. So I've booked an appointment, and it's either because they've got nothing and it's like a Kronos update, or it'll be something really big. It's one of the two. So I'm hoping it'll be something really big, because that'll be all great for us. I don't know what else there is. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, that's going to be very interesting. And obviously the Arturia stuff we'll see in the flesh world. I've got it here, but it might be that it'd be quicker for me to film something at NAMM rather than get something done here. The little things.
Korg will issue a new monopoly or something like that.
Oh, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, monopoly. Yeah. Little things. We found now this is something that we use for our show stuff. This is the mic that, you know, you could talk into. So we switched that on, and so the person who's interviewing and you can be heard. These are really hard to find with dynamic mics on them. We found these, and they're really quite cheap, and the headphones are fantastically sealed. Look, you do this when you push them together. They actually create a vacuum. That's how good the seal is, and the mic sounds really good. So I mean, hopefully that will improve the quality of our coverage, because our sort of ghostly disembodied voices won't be yelled down the bleed from the lavalier mic.
What's the connection on that?
On this, it's
is it a 5-pin?
No, it's a pair of these.
Oh.
So
okay.
Headphones, you know, which is perfect for us, and it's a good long lead. I know it's not very exciting, but it is actually, it's quite a big deal, because normally these things are usually sort of the stuff that you find for stage management or sports events, and they're normally about £300 or £400. This was 50 quid, so we bought three sets.
What brand are they?
Oh God, I wish I could tell you.
It's just because, you know what, touring I could do something like that.
I can't make it out because their logo's really hard to.
Is it Monoprix?
Monocore BH009.
Oh yeah, you know, just because I could actually use something like that live, because I'm constantly having to, you know, I use headphones a lot because I'm listening to solo channels and stuff like that. But I also have to have a good set of clear comms, and most clear comm headsets are so clunky, and you know, you don't really want them on your ears because it just sounds terrible. So if there's some way I could turn that, like rewire it and turn it into a Clearcom headset, I'd be really happy.
Maybe, yeah, it might be possible. The headphones are all right. They're not the best. They're not as good as, because we've got a pair. We have, I think they're Sennheisers, but the mic on the Sennheiser isn't as good as the mic on this. It's got a very high it's got a very high mid peak, which is fine perhaps for some things, but if it sounds a bit shonky in the environment that we're using them in, where there's a lot of background noise, and this is a bit more. It's a bit of a smoother finish, or maybe it's a bit of a smile or something on the curve. Anyway, that was it. It's kind of like random, not very music tech.
But
right.
I suddenly got really excited about it.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad I could pass some useful information on to you as well. Thank you. I'm glad that was possible. But like I say, next week no show, and we won't be back. Next show is going to be in February. Crikey, because we're back.
I'll be gone.
I travel back on the 31st. So yeah, excuse me. That's the cough coming in. I'm trying not to get that. So I want to say thank you, Johan, for joining us. It's been a pleasure as ever.
My
and
pleasure.
thank you for taking the time to give us yet another delightful shot of your studio there. I hope you have a good couple of weeks.
Next time I'll try a different angle. See what.
Okay, I look forward to that. Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us. If you're interested in what Johan's up to, I think there's some up-to-date information on johannevo.com, but do check out the Wave stuff and all the fantastic productions that you've done. I hope you've got a busy yet not too stressful week.
Yeah, well, something like that. Something like that.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Also, Mr. Charles Chicky Reeves, thank you for joining us too. I guess we won't see you for a little while because we'll be off, and then you'll be off.
Yeah, I'm working every single day. Then I go on tour beginning of February. I'm back towards the end of February, and then I go back to America the beginning of March, and I'm gone until most of April. Then I'm back for like a week, and then I go back to America for a few more shows, and then
busy.
Then I come back, and it's a busy time. But I'll be more around here come May. That's the time you can count on me.
Super. Well, lovely. Thank you very much. That's it for this week. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you all in a couple of weeks. And don't forget, Sunday the 28th, 12:30 Pacific time will be our next live airing. See you later.